Welcome to a screencast on Linux 6.x networking. We're going to talk about adding a static IP address on a Linux server. The scope of the screencast is going to be limited to the Red Hat Linux family, being Fedora, CentOS, and of course, Red Hat Linux and Enterprise. The steps in this screencast is going to maybe generally guide you in the right direction if you're using another Linux operating system, but they won't be true and correct, so to speak. The audience for this screencast is going to be anyone who's new to Linux or maybe a developer who typically wouldn't be responsible for administration on a Linux box and may have never done networking in a Linux box. This will give you some exposure. We have a few objectives. We want to review the desired state of the network configuration which we're trying to achieve. We want to edit the etc sysconfig.networking file. We're going to edit the actual device file for the NIC device, which is in the etc sysconfig networking scripts folder. We're going to edit the etc resolve.conf. And we're going to discuss the role that Network Manager plays in networking with Linux. And we're actually going to restart the Linux network with our new IP. And we're going to verify that the new IP has taken effect. So the desired state or the desired network configuration that we're going for is we want to have an IP address of 192.168.1.77. We want to have a net mask of 255.255.255.0. The host name we're not going to change. We're going to do another video on that. We're going to keep this video short and sweet. The gateway is going to be 192.168.1.254, which is going to be the same as our DNS server. In this particular screencast, both our DNS and the gateway are the same. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do to configure a static IP address is we're going to edit the etc sysconfig networking file. And essentially, the only thing we're going to add is the gateway. Now, let me say this. There's a lot of things in the networking files that we could be adding or changing, but we're going to keep this short and sweet and within scope, and we're going to do the bare minimum to get the job done. So I have here a virtual box, a Oracle virtual box, a VM, if you will. And what we're going to, we don't want to enlarge that. That looks horrible. We want to increase the view. We want to zoom in maybe a couple of times. Okay, that looks better. So the first thing we want to do is switch to super user. Okay, so now what we want to do is that we want to edit the etc sysconfig networking file. And here we're not actually going to change anything. We're going to do an add. And what we're going to do is we're going to add the gateway. And the gateway is what's going to allow our machine to get out onto the network. Okay, so that's easy peasy, nothing to it. The next thing we're going to do is that we're going to edit the actual device file. We are going to make sure that the Ethernet device is listed, which is ETH1. We're going to make sure the boot protocol is listed, which is going to be static. The hardware address is going to be added. We don't know what that is. We have to be sure we grab it before we edit the file. We're going to put in our static IP 192.168.1.77. We're going to set the net mask. You already know what that is. And we're actually not going to put the DNS information in there simply because we're going to edit the resolve.conf, and by putting it in the networking device file, it would be carried over to resolve.conf, and if we're going to edit resolve.conf, it's not necessary. So anyway, let's get started with this. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to do an if config eth1. So we're going to just grab the hardware address because we're going to need it. And if you notice, we have a IP address that's assigned through DHCP of 192.168.1 79. Now this is going to be, once it's all said and done, this is going to be changed to 77, and then the broadcast is going to be, the net mask is going to be saying 255.255.255. So we are just going to switch to the proper directory. So cd etc sysconfig network scripts. And if we do a ls-la, we can view all the different networking files here. So we notice that there is no network file for the device that we need, a network configuration file. So we'll just create one, and we'll do that by copying the one that is there. So we'll just do a cp if cfg, I think that's what it is, if cfg -l. Oh, I think that's a 0. Let's see what that is. Is that a 0 or is that an O? That looks to be an O. And then we're going to copy that into if cfg eth1. I hope this goes well. Let's see what happens. Let me move this up a bit. No such file or directory. So you know what? Let's just cut and paste. Can't go wrong with cut and paste. We're going to lose our hardware information, but we can always go back and grab it. Copy, paste, paste again. This time we'll call it eth1. How about that? That's done. So we'll go back, grab our MAC address again, and now we're ready to edit. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is put in the name of the device that we're going to be working with. We're going to plug in our IP address, 192.168.1.77, the net mask, 255.255.255.0. Network, we're just going to take that out. Don't need it for the purpose of this video. The broadcast, take it out. Loopback, take it out. Okay, so now we are going to put in the hardware address. Let's go ahead and get that out of the way. We also want to add the, what else do we want to add here? I think we may be good. Oh, boot protocol, which is going to be static. Looks like we have a little boo-boo. We can fix that, no problem. Okay, I think we have everything. We basically want to have the device name, boot protocol, hardware address, IP address. On boot, yes, that's fine. DNS, we're just going to leave that out. I think we're good here. Okay, so the next step after that is that we're going to edit the etcresolve.conf. Now, this file is already going to have data in it. We're just going to actually take a lot of data out, and we're going to basically keep it simple here. Now, this data, as you can see, is generated by the network manager, and we'll talk about that in a second, but generally we're just going to take all this stuff out. And we're going to leave this portion in, which is basically the gateway information. I'm sorry, the DNS information. In this case, this would be the DNS information. DNS is basically going to be the server that our machine is going to refer to for computer names on the network. Okay, so that's it. So now let's have a quick conversation about the network manager. The network manager is this ideal tool that's supposed to make everything super easy when you're trying to configure a network. Now, networking can be a pain if we didn't have the network manager, especially if you're working with a laptop or a desktop VM with complex networking. Network manager basically configures everything. You don't have to think about it. It's like the easy button. in the, it's like an easy button. However, when you are trying to configure static IP, Network Manager works against you. So it's better to basically just remove the Network Manager. Otherwise, it's going to just create a huge headache when it comes down to install a static IP. So again, you wouldn't remove the Network Manager if you are working off of a laptop or you have a complex networking situation and then you don't mind static IP, but and you don't mind not having static IP. But if you have a situation where you're trying to put in a static IP, then it's better to get rid of this thing. So that's what we're going to do. So basically, we're going to use two commands to get rid of it. We're going to use check config to basically make sure it doesn't reboot. It doesn't start rebooting machine. If we reboot the machine, Network Manager won't be restarted. And we're going to do a service stop command, which is going to stop it right here, right now on the spot. And then there's some services that were actually managed by the Network Manager. One of them being the network. Now, the Network Manager and the network service are totally two different services. They are related in the sense that the Network Manager was managing the network service, but they're sort of pretty much just two different services. And then the other service, which I'm not sure, but could have possibly been managed by the Network Manager service, is SSHD. However, I noticed that this service is off, so I'm just going to make sure that it's turned on. Going back to our Oracle VirtualBox here. So if we just do a check config and just grep Network Manager. Manager, there you go. Spelled it wrong. Okay, so we can see that this guy is on, and as I said, this is going to create lots of problems for us when we're trying to configure static IP. So it's best to just go ahead and turn this guy off. So we're going to do that right now, and the command is simply check config Network Manager off. Okay, so now if we do a check config and grep for Network Manager, we can see it's off where it was on for run levels 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's excellent. That's what we want. The next thing we're going to do is that we're going to stop it here and now. I spelled service wrong. Step back, correct that. Okay, so now that's stopped. Now, the other thing we need to do is that we need to make sure that certain services are turned on and they are turned on when we reboot. That's going to be network and that's going to be SSHD. Now, we're not going to do, we're going to skip through all the theatrics and we're just going to make sure that they are turned on. As they should be. The first one is going to be SSHD, which we're going to turn on right now. Start. How about start? Not on. Okay, so now that's on. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to make sure it starts at boot up. SSHD on. Okay, and if we want to double check that, which I said we would skip, we can check this by doing a grep of check config, and we can see that anytime the machine is rebooted, it's going to be turned on. Okay, the other service that we're concerned about is going to be network. Now, just to show you that it's off, you can see that network is off for 2, 3, 4, and 5. And this becomes crucial because if we reboot the box and we're not in front of the console, we won't have any network services. So we definitely want to correct this. Network Manager would generally manage the network service, but since Network Manager is not going to be on, then we need to make sure that this is turned on automatically. And just to double check, we can see it's now on for run levels 2, 3, 4, and 5. Perfect. Okay, so now the only thing left to do here is to restart the network. Okay, so now that the network has been restarted, we're going to basically verify the changes. Now, the true test is to simply open up a PuTTY session here and do a 192.168.1.77 and see if we can connect. And you cannot see it here. It's on another screen, but yes, it's asking us for us to accept a key. We'll just do a ping of, first we'll do an if config. And we can see that our new IP address has taken effect, 192.168.1.77. So that's good. We'll do a route -n. And we can see that the gateway information is present. That's good. So next we'll ping the gateway, or ping the IP address maybe first. We're getting feedback from the IP address ping. That's good. Next, we shall ping the gateway. We're getting feedback from the gateway ping. That's also good. And finally, we'll ping google.com. And we can ping Google. That's excellent as well. So now a true test would actually be to get a PuTTY session going here. Okay, so we can get into our PuTTY session and everything's good. Everything is good. Now, if you want to really drill down into Linux networking and you want to basically get a good handle of Linux networking, I am going to recommend this book. I have read this book and it is a pretty good book as they come, Mastering Linux Network Administration. After reading this book, you will be able to do or be exactly what the book says, and that's being a master of Linux networking administration. Not necessarily networking in general, because as you know, networking is a broad topic, but from the domain of Linux, you should do pretty well after getting this book. If you want to get this book, there should be a link below. Definitely, click on that link, order this book if you want to enhance your understanding of Linux networking. Like I said, in this short video, you can only cover so much, but this book basically is going to help you get to that next level when it comes down to Linux networking. So definitely subscribe. There's going to be more technology videos to come. If you want to email me for some strange reason, you can email me at dynamicdavidmartin386@gmail.com. I do have to apologize in advance. I do get behind on email sometime, but I do read my emails. So if you send me an email, I will try to respond. Thank you so much for watching this video, and take care.